Imagine a courtroom. The air is thick with tension, heavy with the smell of incense and decay. On the throne sits the defendant, dressed in the full, glittering vestments of the Pope. But this defendant isn't breathing. He hasn't taken a breath in 9 months. This is the true, horrifying story of the Cadaver Synod, the day the Church put a corpse on trial. It is a tale of political rivalry, unbridled hatred, and the darkest chapter in the history of the papacy. To understand how we got here, we must travel back to the chaotic world of 9th century Rome. This era was known as the Iron Age of the papacy. Rome was a snake pit of warring noble families. Every family was vying for power, fighting to place their own puppet on the throne of St. Peter. Enter Formosus. In life he was a brilliant but controversial figure, a skilled diplomat and missionary. He navigated this treacherous political landscape, eventually becoming pope in the year 891. But Formosus made powerful enemies. He sided with the German king Arnulf against the Italian house of Spoleto. This was a decision that would haunt him from beyond the grave. When Formosus died in 896, it seemed his troubles were finally over. He was laid to rest with full honors in St. Peter's Basilica. But for his enemies, death was not the end. It was merely an intermission. A year later, a new pope, Stephen VI, took the throne. He was a fierce ally of the family Formosus hated. Driven by a maniacal desire for revenge, Pope Stephen ordered the unthinkable. Formosus's body was ripped from its sacred tomb after 9 months in the cold earth. The rotting corpse was hauled out, dressed in pontifical vestments, and dragged to the courtroom. They propped the dead pope up on a throne in the Basilica of St. John Lateran. A terrified young deacon was appointed as his defense lawyer, standing trembling beside the ghastly figure. The trial was pure madness. Pope Stephen screamed at the corpse, asking, "Why did you usurp the universal Roman See in such a spirit of ambition?" The air was filled with accusations of perjury. The defense, naturally, remained silent. The verdict was a foregone conclusion, guilty on all counts. The Synod declared his entire papacy null and void. All his acts were erased from history. But the humiliation didn't stop there. The sacred papal vestments were torn from his decaying body. Then, in a final act of spite, the 3 fingers on his right hand were hacked off. The mutilated corpse was dragged through the cobblestone streets of Rome and dumped into a common grave. Days later, Stephen had it dug up again and thrown into the Tiber River, the ultimate sign of disgrace. This grotesque spectacle was too much, even for the hardened people of Rome. Public outrage boiled over. A mob rose up against Pope Stephen VI. A mob rose up against Pope Stephen VI. He was deposed, imprisoned, and stripped of his power. Just a few months after the Cadaver Synod, he was strangled to death in his cell by his own guards. Formosus's body was eventually recovered from the river by a monk who had seen a vision in his sleep. Rumors spread that the body had performed miracles on the riverbank, healing the sick and the lame. Subsequent popes annulled the horrific Cadaver Synod and ordered that Formosus be reburied with honor. He was returned to St. Peter's Basilica with the honor he deserved, amidst the cheers of the people. It serves as a grim reminder of a time when revenge knew no bounds. Not even the silence of the grave